Welcome to SFLiberalBuzz. I'm Denise Story, your host. My co-host is Elihu Hernandez, L-U-H,
E-L-I-H-U.
and that's on our Twitter handles. I'm Denise Story. It's right here.
See right down
And
here.
his is
Here's mine.
Elihu2001. So that we're going to go through our Twitter feeds, in which we have very interesting things to share with you. So first, the die-in at the Pride was censored. Yes,
I'm going to be talking about that.
KOFI. They censored last year too. They censored the last protest they had for housing. They protest that. That protest was also censored on the second showing. I mean, the original showing it was in there. So you got, if you didn't watch it live, you didn't get to see it, and if you weren't there, you didn't get to see it. So we're trying to figure out why, and there, of course, there's no explanation as we're waiting. So if anybody wants to give us one, please call this number 861-6648. We'll talk about it. This is a call-in show.
Area code 415.
Yes. And now we're going to go to the Twitter first. So let's check out Twitter. And first we got here, and the first tweet is about Twitter. They changed management a bunch of times, and are they struggling to gain users and market share? Those are my comments, but you can read more about it in the New York Times. Their market share has gone down, and the users, their projected number of users has as well. So we have a lot to go through. The petition to stop the closure of Safeway Recycling Center can be found on the Twitter feed of Denise Story. So you can go ahead and sign that petition. We're supposed to have zero waste in San Francisco. I'm going to go more into that. I've got a lot more to go into on the recycling center closure as well. And support is needed for the city's recyclers. There's two articles about it. Well, an article and a petition. The November 2014 ballot measure text to protect Golden Gate Park from this building the soccer stadiums that are ecologically unfriendly and have lighting at night that confuses shorebirds, so a lot of our legislators really didn't go to bat for us to stop this, and it doesn't benefit very many people. It's supposed to be public land. So there's a petition, and it's going on the November ballot. The ballot initiative was signed. And so November ballot will, I'm sure I hope it passes. I will say. And free weed could become law in Berkeley. So we belong, Eli and I both belong to what Axis of Love, which is a patient advocate center. So the Patient Advocate Center is Axis of Love, and they're on 1260 Mission. If you care to contact us, please do. Axis of Love SF on... Don't do that.
What else do you have on here?
Bridges to Housing. The Homeless Bill of Rights will work to combat criminalization of poor people. So that's a link I've got on there. The Homeless Bill of Rights, of course, was put off until next year, and it didn't pass the Assembly the way it was. They had to water it down, and, well, you know, to make business interests happier. So the Texas judge was sentenced to man to death for marijuana possession. So stay out of Texas if you smoke cannabis, and a lot of other reasons to stay out that I can think of.
This is a right-wing state, Texas.
Yes, and I've got a warrant there for speeding, so, in the desert. So last week we had last show we had Supervisor David Campos, and that can be seen on our Twitter feed. We linked to that. So it was a good show. We saw him at the parade. I saw him at Pride.
And he
was at James Kim's.
He talked very well on the Ellis Act evictions and how bad it is for the community and the poor. So it's a great show. Just log on our Twitter account or on YouTube and watch David Campos.
Federal court strikes down Los Angeles law that bars people from living in parked vehicles. So I think That sounds all right to me. Oh, and a newborn kitten in a pickup truck. Drug maker will soon hold patent on THC, CBD as cancer cures. So that's the corporatization of cannabis. I'm against that. So, but I mean, I'm against patenting the herb. I just am. Mellow moms, marijuana babies, nearly twice as likely to survive. So, yes, just ponder that for a minute. Rough pass, and think about the dogs too. Don't forget the dogs. Apparently they like medical cannabis as well as cats. So, cannabinoid receptors are the most prevalent receptor in your brain. Scientists have recreated the Spanish flu virus. Well, that's awful.
Why would the scientists want to recreate a virus that killed 50 million people?
Yeah. Why would they? Republicans jump into Florida campaign against medical marijuana. Florida has been talking about having medical marijuana, being a medical marijuana state. So DEA obstructs research into medical marijuana. Well, there was an excellent report on Al Jazeera. I highly recommend you read it. Go to Al Jazeera, and the link is there. Marijuana affects autism in a possibly therapeutic way. So that's another good thing it does for kids. That's 3 things it does besides the seizures that we already know about. And then we're back to our medical cannabis working group, which I don't know when the next one's going to be. So then I actually wanted to get into some of these issues I've had about the Supreme Court rule, the SCOTUS ruling. The SCROTUS ruling. And it's actually, if men could get pregnant, birth control would be plentiful, abortions would be legal and socially acceptable, and they would be on every block.
What I have yet to hear about this,
Unmarried men.
Denise, what I have yet to hear about the Supreme Court striking down this ruling here is, why is no men complaining that condoms are not available? Condoms are not even covered. Condoms are birth control. It's the only form of birth control that men have.
It's a barrier. Well, the Catholic Church approves of only the rhythm methods. Go figure. There's 5 men just made this decision, and it's an invitation to experiment with with drugs. You know, besides the ones that work. It's just bad ruling, very bad ruling. Unmarried men can still get Viagra covered on their insurance plans. And the Bible has explicit instructions on how to perform an abortion in the book of Numbers. And the drug RU486 is good for high blood pressure. It's good for hot flashes. It seems like there's a lot of drugs that help men with their sexuality, and very few for women with hot flashes.
That is correct. There are very few women drugs that are able to help the women's body.
Very few. And it's also works for major depression and anxiety disorder and glaucoma. The morning after pill, RU486. Lots of drugs can be used during pregnancy, cannot be used during pregnancy, not just RU486. So it's so broad reaching, and it leaves the ruling leaves openings for, well, maybe they can start discriminating about who they hire too. Like maybe they won't hire Muslims or gay people, and people who smoke cannabis are already discriminated against.
George Takei made a great point. I'm not sure if anybody is familiar with George Takei. He played Sulu in Star Trek. He's a great human rights activist. He made a point along the lines of, what if Hobby Lobby wanted to rule under Muslim Sharia law? How would the people react to that?
Yeah. Exactly.
I agree. What happened to the separation of church and states?
Well, it seems like the Tea Party, the conservatives have made it into their own form of Sharia law. It's Sharia Christian law. So, we got complete with guns. They like the guns more. They're worried about everyone having guns, and they're the ones with them.
Thomas Jefferson said this country was not founded upon Christian principles. Unquote.
Yeah, and see, the SCROTUS ruling really, it hurts the poor people, because if you're not paid, and birth control isn't cheap, and if you can't afford it to get your meds, if you're not paid well enough, it's a hardship. And if, like I said, if men could get pregnant, abortion would be free, acceptable, and convenient. But the decision could lead to hiring discrimination. And so now the next topic I want to cover is zero waste and the war on the poor. We've seen a lot of enforcement on 16th Street and in the Tenderloin, and Ed Lee has hired 300 more officers to continue the mourning and put in millions to 1.8 million maybe. I've got it written here if I can read
I don't
it
know
right.
the exact figures.
It's over a million just for mourning home, to sweep away the mourning homeless. I guess hosing them down isn't good enough. So there's the zero waste, closing the recycling center is another arm of the war on the poor, and they want to I guess this is about property values to me. It's about raising property values by getting rid of the unsightly homeless people that are recycling cans, and they won't even let them get on the bus. You know, it takes a really cool driver to let them get on the bus with their cans.
How can NIMBYs not want people in my backyard when they don't even have a backyard?
And they're cleaning up the NIMBY's garbage. The NIMBY's garbage is being recycled. Where, the zero waste city, how are we going to do that when we close down the recycling centers? It's really ridiculous stuff. And like the north side of the city has lost most of the recycling centers. Eric Marr called for a hearing for recycling center evictions to stop the evictions and call for an impact report and a study to be performed on the impact on the homeless and how they're losing money, and the people. Well, not necessarily homeless. There's people who might have a place who are barely hanging on to their place, and they're having to recycle cans just to eat, or
It's
whatever.
a form of income for some people.
Yeah. Yeah, and by the way, affordable housing is just another way of calling those people. Just side note. The impact report, it hurts people without cars too, people without vehicles that can't, take their cans on the bus. People have to use vehicles to drive, to take the cans down to, where the freeway is, down in the South City part, where all the recycling centers are. Yeah, there's a few on I think there's one on Rhode Island that does paper, and I used to do it too. I had a truck and I used to recycle. So
I'm just glad that Muni has not prohibited large bags of objects such as cans and bottles.
I saw them actually kick people off the bus
There's
more than once
nothing
with
that's
cans and
prohibited
bottles.
legally yet, so
They
cannot
still
really
do it
that.
though. They still do it. I've seen them do it, and I've gotten on their case, and they still do it. So red and blue alert. Lots of hypocritical. There's 1.3 million found for public drinking and enforcement, things like that. But then they drink in public at those outdoor pubs just behind a chain link fence. It's the richer people, and they pay $3 to sit behind a fence and drink legally and hoop it up and make a bunch of noise. And they still annoy the neighbors. I know someone in Hayes Valley is always calling the cops to complain about them. Anyway, they're drinking too. The cops don't do anything. But so that's a double standard. The undercover cops in my neighborhood, I see them every day. They drink real alcohol, wear wires, and they near schools and trying to entrap us. So there's that. I've got videos of them doing it. So I watch and I see it all day. So I live in the Tenderloin on Eddy Street. The point is affordable housing. Now, Lee has proposed about $50 million towards affordable housing. But 85 million towards more cops. For street repair. 85 million for potholes and street repair. Oh, I guess the buses are tearing the streets up. The Google bus, didn't the Google bus get in an accident in front of City Hall with a Muni bus?
Yes, they did.
And we were rooting for the Muni bus for once, huh? Yeah, well, at least it came. Oh.
Well, that's actually a pretty low estimate for street repairs in San Francisco.
Well, Mayor Ed Lee has put his new projected budget has $2 million for the homeless. 2% of the budget goes for the homeless.
That is way better than what Willie Brown and Gavin Newsom had.
Is it?
Oh, yes.
Is it? Well, thanks for the clarification. So if we could to bring back the middle class, I reckon we need more manufacturing here, and the mayor and the board of supervisors and the business board of equalization, all those agencies could get together and bring manufacturing back.
That is what Mayor Lee has actually done. He has invited representatives from different countries, different states, hey, come to California. This is the environment. This is our impact we have here. This is why it's great for your business. Why it's great for your company. Great for your community. Great for your commodities. Mayor Lee is actually doing this.
I'll see how it goes. We'll just see. We'll see. And now the homeless bill of rights, like I said, was shelved until next year. And so to wrap that up, that subject up for now, is it's about the property values. So that's pretty much about the property values. And the Entertainment Commission, we were going to have Anaconda on, but Anaconda didn't.
Unfortunately, Glendon had to cancel, so.
Okay, because I was going to ask about the future of the Folsom Street Fair due to a school moving in or wanting to move in. I don't know if the school has actually been approved or
Has not been approved yet, but they have not moved in.
Okay, the school that wanted to, because they want to be between 8th and 9th on Folsom. It just seems like a plot to get rid of the Folsom Street Fair. Because, all the naked people, look out for naked people. So I want to let Eli have a bit of time for his Twitter as well. So you have at it.
Okay, and what we have here on Twitter is a little known fact here. July 2nd was actually America's birthday. It was actually the colonies declared independence from the British on July 2nd, and everything was signed on the 4th. So technically yesterday was America's birthday. Happy birthday, America. And of course World Cup fever is everywhere, and a lot of people down the Civic Center was drinking Bud Light, but little people realized that it's actually a Belgian beer company. And yes, I was going to the Giants game. This right here is a vine from Nancy Mancias, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing her name correctly, of what happened during Pride with Tommy's protest that was edited out of the national television coverage.
Yeah. The die-in, right in front of the sisters.
Right here is a couple pictures. A picture of one of the die-ins that actually happened. This happened right in front of the cameras.
Right in front of the judge's booth.
I understand the network editing out nudity for sensitive families, yes,
sure.
But edit out a
political die-in.
A political action during the proposed march itself.
Yeah. Thanks for going into that more. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm a Giants fan. And I want to let you know that the mayor's report said 19,000 people are homeless off the streets now, but of course 8,000 were bussed out of town.
Ugh.
Yes. Go back to the class, I guess, for a little buzz here.
How many? 8,000?
8,000 was bussed out of town.
Oh.
I know. And you know, Denise, this brings me back to a proposal here, something that's going to go on a ballot soon. It's called the anti-speculation tax. You heard about this, correct?
Jane Kim, yes, Jane Kim. I was just with her at the Pride.
Yes, Mayor Feinstein.
She's going to come on our show soon.
Hopefully she does, because Mayor Feinstein, if anybody's unaware of this, nixed it, slashed it. The anti-speculation tax discourages real estate by taxing away the profits on quick sales, leading to evictions. If the resale falls within 1 year of the purchase of the tax, it'll be 24% of the resale price for 2 years. This is a great thing for the city of San Francisco here.
Great.
And of course, along with the child fund reauthorization, there's another ballot initiative I also wanted to let people know of, that the CFR sets aside not 1, not 2, but 4 cents this time. 4 cents for every $100 in property tax collected by San Francisco, which is wonderful and great news. And that is my time here, because we are...
Keep going. No, you got 2 more minutes.
My bad. Had a great day at the time of the Giants game.
Yeah.
What I want to bring your attention to is the street sheet right here. This is a non-profit, 100% profit, but by the vendors brought up by the Coalition of Homelessness. The current issue of the street sheet shows the protest, what happened right here, as well as more pictures on the inside and a story as well you can read along. T.J. Johnson, which is a great photographer and an author of the street sheet here, he has a great impact on this, and is also a story about how a gentleman came to San Francisco and experienced homelessness for the first time, and the impacts that he's having problems with the shelter system. About saving his money, trying to find a job, getting kicked out, trying to find a safe place to sleep. There's not many safe places to sleep in San Francisco.
They're dwindling.
I know, but there's also some good news in San Francisco.
68 youth shelter beds and over 1,000 homeless youth.
You mentioned about the $50 million budget for the street repairs, correct? Earlier?
85 million.
85 million, thank you.
There's 50 million for affordable housing.
There was a $500 million transportation bond that's going to be on the ballot in November. It will improvement to bus stops and speedy services, new transit-only lanes, which means no taxi cabs, only buses, wider crosswalks for pedestrian safety, and more refugee islands, which means in the middle of the road here, so that way the buses can actually not block the traffic, which is actually a good thing. However, the new GO bonds are not issued until old ones have expired, so it actually won't increase any taxes here. And that's the new stuff I have, Denise.
Thanks, Eli. Thanks for the updates. And you can, like I said, you can follow us both on Twitter right here.